The eviction notice felt like sandpaper against Emma's fingertips. 30 days. The numbers blurred as tears threatened to fall, but she blinked them back. Crying wouldn't pay rent. Crying wouldn't save Lily. Her studio apartment smelled of turpentine and desperation. Canvases lined every wall, each one a piece of her soul that galleries had rejected. Beautiful failures, they called them. Not commercial enough. Emma's phone buzzed. "Unknown number, Miss Rivera. Mr. Ashford would like to meet with you tonight at the Sterling. 8 p.m. A car will pick you up at 7:30. Her hands trembled. Julian Ashford. The billionaire whose face dominated financial magazines and tabloid covers. Why would he want to meet her? "I think you have the wrong person," she typed. "No mistake. This concerns a business opportunity worth your time." The car will arrive as scheduled. At 7:30, a black Mercedes idled outside her building. The driver opened the door without a word. Emma smoothed her navy dress, the only decent thing she owned, and slid inside. The Sterling restaurant glowed like a jewel box. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across marble floors. Emma felt like an imposter as the hostess led her to a private dining room. Julian Ashford stood by floor-to-ceiling windows, silhouetted against the city lights. When he turned, Emma's breath caught. Photographs hadn't captured the intensity of his gray eyes or the sharp angles of his face. He was handsome in a way that felt dangerous. "Miss Rivera." His voice was velvet over steel. "Thank you for coming. I still don't know why I'm here." Straight to business. "I appreciate that." Gestured to a chair. "Please." A waiter materialized, pouring wine that probably cost more than Emma's rent. Julian waved away the menus. "The chef will prepare the tasting menu. Unless you have dietary restrictions?" "No." Emma folded her hands in her lap, feeling his eyes dissect her. "I've done my research on you, Emma. May I call you Emma?" She nodded. 26. Top of your class at the Art Institute. 3 years trying to make it as an artist. You work at Moonbeam Coffee on 5th Street? You're 3 months behind on rent. And your sister Lily has been fighting leukemia for 18 months. Heat flooded Emma's face. "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know everything about people I'm considering working with." He leaned back, completely at ease. "I have a proposition for you." "I'm listening." "I need a girlfriend." "Not a real one." "Someone to play the role convincingly for 6 months. Public appearances, social events, photographs for the press. In return, I'll pay you $200,000 up front, plus cover all expenses." The room tilted. $200,000. Lily's treatment, the back rent, breathing room. "Why me?" Her voice came out hoarse. "And why do you need a fake girlfriend?" "I'm finalizing a merger with Quantum Technologies. The CEO is old-fashioned. He doesn't trust unmarried men in their 30s. Thinks we're unstable."
Ow.
Julian's eyes never left hers. "As for why you're unknown enough that no one will question our story. But intelligent and poised enough to hold your own in my world. Plus, you need the money desperately enough that I can trust you won't back out." Anger flashed through her. "You think you can just buy me? I'm offering a business arrangement. You provide a service. I provide compensation. There's no emotional component required. What exactly would the service include?" "Public appearances. You'd move into my penthouse to make it convincing. Separate bedrooms, of course." His gaze was clinical. "We'd need to appear affectionate in public. Light physical contact. Nothing beyond what you're comfortable with. The contract will spell everything out. Move in with him. Pretend to be his girlfriend." It sounded insane, but Lily's face flashed in her mind, pale and weak in that hospital bed. "I need to think about it." "Of course. But I need an answer by tomorrow night. The merger finalizes in 2 weeks. We need time to establish our relationship publicly." He slid a business card across the table. "My personal number." Dinner arrived. Course after course of food Emma barely tasted. Julian made polite conversation, asking about her art, her background. But she could feel him analyzing every word, every gesture. When the meal ended, he walked her to the waiting car. One more thing, he said. If you agree, this stays between us. No one can know it's fake. Not your friends. Not your family. Can you handle that? Emma met his cold gaze. If I do this, I need half the money up front, and a clause in the contract that protects me if you decide to end it early. Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe. Done. Call me tomorrow. That night, Emma sat by Lily's hospital bed, watching her little sister sleep. At 19, Lily should have been in college, living her life. Not hooked up to machines that beeped steadily in the darkness. Emma brushed a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. She pulled out her phone and stared at Julian's business card. The next evening, she called. He answered on the first ring. I'll do it, she said. But I have conditions. I'm listening. The money gets transferred before I move in. I want the contract reviewed by a lawyer. And if this puts my sister's health or well-being at risk, I'm out. Agreed. My lawyer will send over the contract tomorrow morning. We'll sign tomorrow night. You move in this weekend? Paused. Emma, once we do this, we have to sell it completely. Can you handle that? Could she pretend to be in love with a man who saw her as a business transaction? Could she lie to everyone she knew? Yes, she said, forcing confidence into her voice. I can handle it good. Welcome to your new life, girlfriend. The line went dead. Emma sat in the silence of her apartment, wondering what she'd just agreed to. In 3 days, she'd be living in Julian Ashford's penthouse. Pretending to be his girlfriend? Lying to everyone, but Lily would live, and that was worth any price. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of Ashford Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a 360 view of the city, making Emma feel like she was floating above the world. Her 2 battered suitcases looked pathetic against the marble and gold. Your room is down the east wing. Julian barely glanced up from his phone. Mrs. Chen will show you around. We have our first public appearance tonight. Kennedy Foundation benefit. Be ready by 7. He strode past her, leaving a wake of expensive cologne. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper, led Emma through rooms that felt more like museum galleries than living spaces. Original Rothkos and Basquiat's hung on walls. Sculptures she'd only seen in textbooks sat on pedestals. This is your room, dear. Mrs. Chen opened double doors. The bedroom was larger than Emma's entire apartment. A king-sized bed dominated the space, dressed in silk sheets that probably cost more than her car. The bathroom looked like a spa, all marble and rainfall showers. Mr. Ashford had clothes delivered for you. Mrs. Chen opened a walk-in closet filled with designer dresses, shoes, and accessories. He said to choose whatever you like for tonight. After Mrs. Chen left, Emma sank onto the bed. This wasn't her life. These weren't her clothes. But Lily's treatment was scheduled for next week, fully paid for. She chose an emerald green gown for the evening. Simple but elegant. When she emerged at 7, Julian was waiting in the living room, adjusting his cufflinks. He looked up, and something flickered across his face before the cold mask returned. Perfect, he said. Now, a few ground rules before we go. Emma's stomach tightened. In public, you call me Julian, never Mr. Ashford. We've been dating for 2 months. We met at an art exhibition. You stay close to me, laugh at my jokes, touch my arm occasionally. Can you do that? I'm an artist, not an actress. You're whatever I'm paying you to be. His voice was ice. Tonight, you're my girlfriend. Act like it. The benefit was held at the Plaza Hotel. As their car pulled up, cameras flashed. Julian took Emma's hand, his grip firm and possessive. Smile, he murmured, and try to look like you're enjoying yourself. Inside, the ballroom glittered with wealth. Women in diamonds. Men in tuxedos. The air smelled of champagne and power. Julian's hand pressed against the small of Emma's back, guiding her through the crowd. He introduced her to senators, CEOs, socialites. She smiled until her face ached, playing the part of the smitten girlfriend. Julian, darling, a woman in a red gown approached, her smile sharp as a blade. Who's your lovely companion? Victoria, Julian's voice cooled. This is Emma Rivera, my girlfriend. Victoria's eyes traveled over Emma, assessing and dismissing her in seconds. How wonderful. I didn't know you were seeing anyone. I prefer to keep my personal life private. Clearly not that private if you're bringing her here. Victoria sipped her champagne. Emma, what do you do? I'm an artist. How charming. Struggling or successful? Heat crept up Emma's neck. I'm working on building my career, so struggling. Victoria's laugh was musical and cruel. Well, at least you landed well. Julian's hand tightened on Emma's waist. If you'll excuse us, Victoria, we have people to see. He steered Emma away, his jaw clenched. I'm sorry, Emma whispered. I should have said something better. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to yourself for letting her get to you. His eyes softened, just for a moment. Victoria thrives on making people feel small. You handled it fine. The rest of the evening blurred. Emma smiled, laughed, played her role. Julian was attentive, charming even. His hand never left her waist. When he looked at her, his eyes held something that almost seemed real, but it wasn't real. She had to remember that. On the drive home, Julian loosened his tie, staring out the window. You did well tonight, he said quietly. Thank you. Richard Thornton will be at the next event. The Quantum Technologies CEO. That's the one that matters. Emma nodded, exhaustion settling into her bones. Back at the penthouse, she kicked off her heels and headed for her room. Julian's voice stopped her. Emma. She turned. He stood in the dim light, looking almost vulnerable. What you're doing for your sister. It's admirable. It's what anyone would do. No, his voice was soft. It's not. Something passed between them. A moment of connection, fragile and unexpected, then Julian's mask slipped back into place. Good night. Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The silk sheets felt foreign against her skin. This was supposed to be simple, a business transaction. But the way Julian had looked at her tonight, the way his touch had felt almost protective, made her wonder if she'd made a terrible mistake, because it would be so easy to forget. This was fake, and that could destroy her. The next morning, Emma woke to find Julian already gone. A note sat on the kitchen counter in sharp handwriting. Meetings all day. Dinner tonight at 8. Casual. We're staying in. She spent the day exploring the penthouse, feeling like a ghost in someone else's life. By evening, she'd changed into jeans and a simple sweater, grateful for something that felt like her. Julian arrived at 7:30, carrying takeout bags. Chinese, he said, setting them on the dining table. I hope you like it. You got takeout? Even billionaires eat lo mein. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile, they ate in surprisingly comfortable silence. Then Julian leaned back, studying her. Tell me about your art, he said. What do you paint? Emma hesitated. Why do you want to know? Because if we're going to convince people we're together, I should know more about you than what's in a background check. Fair enough, she set down her chopsticks. I paint emotions. Grief, joy, fear. I try to capture what words can't express, and the galleries don't want that. They want what sells. Pretty landscapes. Portraits of rich people's dogs. She laughed bitterly. Not abstract expressions of human suffering. Julian's eyes darkened. I'd like to see your work sometime. Why? Because I want to understand what you'd give up for 6 months in a gilded cage. The words hit harder than Emma expected. He saw through her, saw the sacrifice she was making. What about you? She asked. Why don't you just find a real girlfriend? Julian's expression shuddered. Because real comes with expectations I can't meet, like what? Love, trust, a future. He stood, collecting their empty containers. None of which I'm capable of. I don't believe that. Then you're naive. His voice turned cold. Good night, Emma. He walked away, leaving her alone at the table. Emma sat in the silence, realizing she'd just glimpsed something raw beneath Julian's armor. And despite every warning in her head, she wanted to see more. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily. How's the new place? Tell me everything. Guilt twisted in Emma's stomach. She'd told Lily she was house-sitting for a wealthy client. Another lie to add to the pile. It's beautiful. I miss you. How are you feeling? Better. The new treatment is working. The doctors are hopeful. Tears stung Emma's eyes. This was why she was here. This was why she'd sell her soul if she had to. I love you, Elle. Get some rest. Emma stared at her reflection in the darkened window. In 3 weeks, she'd have to attend the Quantum Gala, the event that would seal Julian's merger and her fate. She just had to keep her heart out of this equation. But Julian Ashford was making that harder with every passing day. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Emma woke to find Julian sitting on her bedroom balcony nursing a glass of whiskey. Sunlight painted the city gold, but his eyes were dark. Can't sleep? She asked, stepping outside. He didn't look at her. Never could. Emma sat beside him, pulling her robe tighter against the morning chill. They'd fallen into a strange rhythm. Public affection at events, polite distance at home. But sometimes, late at night, the walls came down. The Quantum Gala is tomorrow, Julian said. After that, the merger will be finalized. Then, it's just maintaining appearances for 5 more months, right? His chest tightened. Just 5 more months. You'll be able to go back to your life. Focus on your art. Yeah. They sat in silence. Emma wanted to ask why he looked so haunted, but she'd learned not to push. Julian shared pieces of himself in fragments, never the whole story. My father died when I was 12, he said suddenly. Heart attack. 1 minute he was there, the next he was gone. My mother remarried within a year. Some venture capitalist who saw me as competition for her attention. Emma's breath caught. Julian never talked about his past. He taught me that love is transactional. People stay as long as you're useful. The moment you're not, they leave. Julian finished his whiskey. So I stopped being the kind of person who could be left. It's a lonely way to live. It's safe. He finally looked at her. Safe is better than broken. Is it? Emma held his gaze. Because you look pretty broken to me. Something shifted in his eyes. Anger, maybe? Or recognition. You should get ready, he said, standing. We have a fitting for tomorrow night. Your gown needs final adjustments. The moment shattered. Julian walked inside, leaving Emma alone with the sunrise. That afternoon, Emma stood on a platform in a designer boutique while seamstresses pinned a midnight blue gown to her body. Julian sat in a leather chair, watching. Turn, the head seamstress instructed. Emma turned. The dress hugged every curve, the fabric shimmering like starlight. Perfect, the seamstress declared. Mr. Ashford has excellent taste. Julian's eyes traveled over Emma, and heat flooded her cheeks. Yes, he said quietly. Perfect. After the fitting, they walked through Central Park. A photographer had tipped off the paparazzi as planned. Cameras clicked from a distance as Julian took Emma's hand. Smile, he murmured. We're madly in love, remember? Right, madly in love. But when his thumb brushed her knuckles, something real sparked between them. Emma saw it in the way Julian's breath caught, the way his grip tightened. Julian, she started. Don't. His voice was rough. Whatever you're about to say, don't. They walked in silence, hands linked, both pretending the moment hadn't happened. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She wandered to the living room and found Julian at the piano, his fingers moving over the keys. The melody was haunting, beautiful, and sad. I didn't know you played, she said, his hands stilled. My father taught me. It's the only thing of his I kept. Emma sat beside him on the bench. Play something happy. I don't know anything happy. Then play what you feel. Julian's fingers returned to the keys. The music swelled, dark and complex, filled with longing. Emma closed her eyes, letting it wash over her. When the last note faded, Julian turned to her. They were close enough that she could feel his breath. Emma, he whispered, this is a mistake. What is? This us. The way I can't stop thinking about you, her heart hammered. Julian, we're not supposed to, I know. His hand cupped her face. I know exactly what we're not supposed to do. He kissed her. Soft at first, then desperate. Emma melted into him, all her defenses crumbling. His hands tangled in her hair. She gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. This wasn't part of the contract. This wasn't pretend. Julian pulled back, his eyes wild. I'm sorry. That was unprofessional. Julian, go to bed, Emma. Please. She fled to her room, heart racing. What had just happened? What had they just done? The next morning, Julian was gone before she woke. A text message waited on her phone. Stay home today. I need space to clear my head. Car will pick you up at 6 p.m. for the gala. Emma spent the day pacing, replaying the kiss over and over. By evening, she was a bundle of nerves. The midnight blue gown fit like a second skin. Her hair was swept up, diamonds borrowed from Julian's collection glittering at her throat. She looked like someone else. Someone who belonged in his world? Julian waited by the elevator, devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo. When he saw her, he froze. You look beautiful, he said, his voice strained. Thank you. They rode to the gala in silence. The tension between them was suffocating. The event was at the Metropolitan Museum. Champagne flowed. Violins played. Julian kept his hand on Emma's waist, but his touch felt mechanical now. The magic from last night had curdled into awkwardness. Richard Thornton, the quantum technology CEO, approached with his wife. He was silver-haired and sharp-eyed, radiating old money. Julian, my boy, and this must be the lovely Emma I've heard so much about. Mr. Thornton, Mrs. Thornton? It's a pleasure. Emma shook their hands. Julian tells me you're an artist, Mrs. Thornton said warmly. Yes, ma'am. How wonderful. We collect, you know. You must show us your work sometime. Emma smiled, playing her part. But across the room, she saw Victoria watching them with a predatory smile. An hour later, Victoria cornered Emma by the bar. Enjoying your fairy tale? Victoria asked, her voice dripping honey. Excuse me? Come now, Emma. We both know what this is. Victoria leaned close. Julian Ashford doesn't do relationships. He does transactions. Whatever he's paying you, I hope it's worth the heartbreak. Emma's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Please. I've known Julian for years. I know how he operates. Victoria's smile sharpened. He'll use you until he gets what he wants, then discard you like yesterday's news. Don't mistake good acting for real feelings. You're wrong about him. Am I? Tell me, does he share anything real with you? Or does he keep you at arm's length, only pulling you close when there's an audience? Emma's stomach twisted, because Victoria was right, except for last night. Last night had been real, hadn't it? Stay away from me, Emma said. Walking away on shaking legs, she found Julian talking to Richard Thornton, laughing at something the older man said. He looked relaxed, charming. Not like the tortured man who'd kissed her last night. Maybe Victoria was right. Maybe she'd imagined the connection. The gala ended. In the car ride home, Julian stared out the window. Richard signed the merger papers tonight, he said. It's done. That's wonderful. Yes, wonderful. Silence stretched between them. Back at the penthouse, Emma headed for her room. Julian's voice stopped her. About last night, it was a mistake, she said quickly. Let's just forget it happened. Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, maybe. Right, a mistake. Emma closed her bedroom door and sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. She'd done the impossible. She'd fallen for Julian Ashford, and he'd made it clear he could never love her back. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Ask Julian about his ex. Fiancée, Charlotte. Ask him why she's buried in Greenwood Cemetery. Emma's blood turned to ice. Emma stared at the text message, her hands trembling. Ask Julian about his ex-fiancée, Charlotte. Ask him why she's buried in Greenwood Cemetery. She Googled Charlotte and Julian Ashford. Articles flooded her screen. Headlines from 5 years ago. Socialite Charlotte Winters dies in tragic accident, Julian. Ashford's fiancé dead at 27 Billionaire mourns. Loss of bride-to-be must scrolled through photos. Charlotte had been stunning. Golden hair, bright smile, everything Emma wasn't. In every picture with Julian, they looked happy. In love, one article caught her eye. Sources close to the couple say they argued the night of Charlotte's death. Police ruled it an accident. But questions remain. Emma's stomach churned. She shouldn't dig into this. It wasn't her business, but the text message felt like a warning. The next morning, Emma found Julian in his study, surrounded by contracts and coffee cups. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked. He glanced up. "About what?" Emma's courage faltered. "Never mind. It's not important." "Emma, what is it?" "Who was Charlotte?" Julian's face went white. The coffee cup in his hand trembled. "Where did you hear that name?" "Someone sent me a text. Told me to ask you about her. Who?" His voice turned dangerous. "I don't know. An unknown number." Julian stood, pacing like a caged animal. "Charlotte was my fiancée. She died 5 years ago. The article said you argued the night she died. Did they also say it was ruled an accident?" His eyes flashed. "That I was cleared of any wrongdoing? Then why do you look so guilty?" The words hung between them, sharp and accusing. Julian's face crumpled. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked broken. "'Cause it was my fault," he whispered. "We fought. She was upset. She drove away angry, and I let her go. 30 minutes later, her car went off a bridge." His voice cracked. "If I'd stopped her, if I'd gone after her, she'd still be alive." Emma's anger dissolved. "Julian, now you know why I don't do real relationships? Why I can't." He turned away. "Everyone I love dies or leaves. It's better to keep people at a distance." "That's not true, isn't it? My father died. Charlotte died. My mother chose her new husband over me." He laughed bitterly. "The only relationships that work are the ones without feelings. Like ours." The words cut deeper than Emma expected. "Right?" she said quietly. "Like ours." She left him in his study, her heart aching for the man who was too afraid to love. That afternoon, Emma visited Lily in the hospital. Her sister looked better, color returning to her cheeks. "You seem different," Lily said, studying her. "Happier. Is it the house-sitting job? Something like that? Or someone?" Lily grinned. "You met a guy, didn't you?" Emma's throat tightened. "It's complicated. The best ones always are." If only Lily knew how complicated. Emma's phone rang. Julian's name flashed on the screen. "I need to take this," she told Lily, stepping into the hallway. "Emma, where are you?" Julian's voice was tense. "At the hospital with Lily." "Why?" "I found out who sent that text. It was Victoria. She's threatening to expose our arrangement to the press unless I pay her $500,000. Emma's world tilted. "She knows?" "She hired a private investigator. Has proof of the contract, the money transfer, everything." Julian exhaled sharply. "I need you to come home. We need to figure this out. I'm on my way." Back at the penthouse, Emma found Julian pacing, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "We have 2 options," he said. "Pay her or call her bluff and go public with the truth before she can. If we go public, you lose the merger. Richard Thornton won't do business with someone who deceived him." Julian downed his whiskey. "Everything I've worked for, gone. Then we pay her, and she'll come back for more. Blackmailers always do." He set down his glass. "There's a 3rd option." "What?" "We make it real." Emma's breath caught. "What? We get engaged?" "Actually engaged. Make Victoria's threats meaningless because there's nothing fake to expose." Julian's eyes met hers. "It solves everything. Except we're not in love, aren't we?" The question hung in the air. Emma's heart pounded. "You said yourself you can't do real relationships," she whispered. "I said I was afraid to. That's different." Julian crossed to her, taking her hands. "These past weeks, Emma, you've made me feel things I thought I'd buried with Charlotte. Maybe I'm still broken. Maybe I'll never be the man you deserve. But I'm willing to try if you are." Emma wanted to believe him, wanted to say yes, but something held her back. "I need time to think." Disappointment flashed across Julian's face. "Of course. Take all the time you need." That night, Emma lay awake, Julian's proposal echoing in her mind. Did she love him? Yes. But did he really love her? Or was this just another transaction? Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Don't trust him. Meet me tomorrow at noon. Riverside Park South entrance. Come alone. Emma stared at the message, her stomach in knots. The next day, she went to the park. A woman waited on a bench, who'd pulled low over her face. Emma Rivera. The woman asked, Yes. Who are you? The woman lowered her hood. She was young, maybe 30, with haunted eyes. My name is Sarah Winters. Charlotte was my sister. Emma's blood ran cold. Julian didn't kill her, Sarah said quickly. But he's not innocent either. What do you mean? Charlotte was pregnant when she died. Julian's baby. They fought because she wanted to keep it, and he said he wasn't ready to be a father. Sarah's voice shook. She was upset, crying, and he let her drive away in that state. The police ruled it an accident, but I've always blamed him. Emma felt sick. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been watching him. Watching you. And I see the way he looks at you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. He's falling for you, Emma. Really falling? And I need to know if you're going to break his heart the way he broke my sister's. I would never then marry him. Make him happy. Give him the life Charlotte never got to. But if you hurt him, I'll destroy you the way he destroyed my family. She walked away, leaving Emma shaking on the bench. Emma returned to the penthouse in a daze. Julian was in the living room, staring out at the city. I met Charlotte's sister, she said. Julian spun around. What? She told me everything? About the baby. About the fight. All color drained from Julian's face. Emma, why didn't you tell me? Because I'm ashamed, he shouted. Because I killed my child along with the woman I loved. Because I'm a coward who's been running from that guilt for 5 years. Tears streamed down his face. Emma had never seen him cry. I told Charlotte I wasn't ready to be a father, he said, his voice breaking. I was building my company, focused on success. I said terrible things, and she died hating me. Her and our baby, gone because I was too selfish to see what mattered. Emma crossed to him, taking his hands. You made a mistake. A terrible one. But you're not that person anymore. How do you know? Because you've spent every day since trying to protect yourself from more pain. Because you're so terrified of losing someone else that you push everyone away. She cupped his face. But I'm not going anywhere, Julian. Not unless you send me away. I could never send you away. He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I love you, Emma. God help me. I love you. I love you too. They stood there, holding each other as the sun set over the city. Marry me, Julian whispered. Not for the merger. Not for Victoria. Marry me because I can't imagine my life without you. Emma pulled back, looking into his eyes. She saw vulnerability there. Hope, love. Yes, she breathed. Yes, I'll marry you. Julian kissed her, and it felt nothing like their first kiss. This was a promise. A beginning. That night they called Victoria together. We're engaged, Julian said coldly. Really engaged. So whatever you're planning to expose, it doesn't matter. There's nothing fake about us, Victoria laughed. You expect me to believe that? Believe what you want. But if you try to come after us, I'll bury you in lawsuits. He hung up. Emma smiled. That felt good. It did, didn't it? They fell into bed together, finally allowing themselves to be real. To love without fear. But at 3 a.m., Emma woke to find Julian's side of the bed empty. She found him in his study, staring at his laptop, his face ashen. Julian, what's wrong? He looked up, and Emma's blood turned to ice at the expression on his face. The merger fell through, he said. Richard Thornton found out about our arrangement. Victoria sent him proof before we called her. But we're really engaged now. Doesn't matter. He thinks I'm a liar. The deal is dead. Julian's hand shook. I'm ruined, Emma. Everything I've built is gone. Emma's mind raced. We'll figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. It's over. Then we start over. Together. Julian laughed bitterly. With what? I'm about to lose everything. You still have me, do I? He stood, his eyes cold again. Or did you only say yes because you thought I was still a billionaire? The accusation hit like a physical blow. How dare you, Emma whispered. I love you. Love doesn't pay bills, Emma. You of all people should know that. You're right. Money does. Like the $200,000 you paid me. She yanked off the engagement ring, throwing it at him. Consider our contract fulfilled. She stormed to her room, threw her belongings into her suitcases, and walked out of Julian Ashford's penthouse and his life. She didn't look back. 6 months later, Emma stood in a Soho gallery, surrounded by her paintings. The opening night crowd murmured appreciation as they moved from canvas to canvas. Each piece told a story of heartbreak, resilience, and survival. These are extraordinary, a collector said, shaking her hand. Raw and honest. I'll take 3. Emma smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Success tasted hollow without someone to share it with. Lily appeared at her elbow, healthy and glowing. The treatment had worked. She was in remission. You did this? We did this. After she'd left Julian, Emma had thrown herself into her art. The pain of losing him had poured onto canvas after canvas. Galleries that once rejected her now fought to represent her. Critics called her work visceral and transformative. But every night, she lay awake remembering Julian's touch, his laugh. The way he looked at her, like she was the only thing that mattered. She'd tried to reach out once, a week after she left. His number was disconnected. The penthouse sold. Julian Ashford had vanished. Emma. A familiar voice cut through the crowd. She turned. Her heart stopped. Julian stood 10 feet away, looking thinner, rougher around the edges. His suit was rumpled, his hair longer than she remembered. But his eyes were the same storm gray that haunted her dreams. What are you doing here? She breathed. I came to see your work. He moved closer, studying the painting beside her. This one. It's me, isn't it? The canvas showed a man made of shattered glass, trying to hold himself together. Dark and beautiful and broken. Yes, Emma admitted. It's perfect. Painfully accurate. Julian met her eyes. I'm sorry. For what I said that night. For pushing you away when you were trying to help. You disappeared. I lost everything. The company, the penthouse, most of my assets. Turns out when you burn enough bridges, no one's willing to help you rebuild. He laughed bitterly. I spent 6 months in a studio apartment in Brooklyn trying to figure out who I was without the money and power. And did you figure it out? I figured out that I was an idiot for letting you go. That money doesn't mean anything if you're alone. That I'd rather be broke with you than rich without you. Took a step closer. I love you, Emma. I never stopped. And I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Emma's eyes filled with tears. You hurt me. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me. What do you even have left? You said you lost everything. Not everything. I kept one thing. Julian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was the engagement ring she'd thrown at him. I couldn't sell it. Couldn't even look at it without thinking of you. Emma's breath caught. I'm not asking you to marry me, Julian said quickly. Not yet. I need to earn that right. But I'm asking for a chance to prove I've changed. That I can be the man you deserve. Before Emma could respond, Victoria's voice cut through the gallery. How touching. The fake couple reunited. Emma turned. Victoria stood with a man holding a camera, her smile vicious. I thought I'd save the press the trouble of connecting the dots, Victoria said. Billionaire Julian Ashford and his paid girlfriend back together? What a story. Actually, a voice called from the entrance. The story is that Victoria Chambers hired a private investigator to illegally obtain confidential contracts, then attempted blackmail. Richard Thornton walked in, his lawyer beside him. Julian's face went pale. Mr. Thornton, save it, Julian. I know everything. Richard's expression was stern. Victoria came to me 6 months ago with her evidence. Tried to get me to ruin you. Then why? Because I wanted to see what you'd do. Whether you'd fight for your company, or fight for something that mattered more? Richard smiled. You chose love. Threw away everything for this woman. That told me more about your character than any business deal. Emma's mind reeled. The merger isn't dead, Richard continued. It's been waiting. I wanted you to rebuild yourself from nothing, to prove you weren't just your father's money and your company's success. And you did? I don't understand, Julian said. I'm reinstating the merger. On one condition. Richard looked at Emma. You marry this woman? Really marry her? Because if she's crazy enough to forgive you, she's the only thing that's going to keep you human. Emma laughed, tears streaming down her face. Julian turned to her, hope and fear warring in his eyes. Emma, yes, she said. I haven't asked yet. Then ask. Julian dropped to one knee, right there in the middle of her gallery opening, with critics and collectors and Victoria watching. Emma Rivera, you're the most stubborn, talented, beautiful woman I've ever met. You saw through all my walls and loved me anyway. You saved me from myself. His voice shook. Will you marry me? Really this time? Forever this time. Emma pulled him to his feet and kissed him. The gallery erupted in applause. Yes, she whispered against his lips. 1,000 times yes. Victoria stormed out, camera crew trailing behind. Richard Thornton shook his head, chuckling. Ah, young love, he said. Messy, but worth it. That night, Emma and Julian sat on the fire escape of his Brooklyn studio apartment, eating pizza and watching the city lights. This is a far cry from the penthouse, Emma said. Is it too small? It's perfect.
Ow.
Julian kissed her temple. I'll build us something better. Not as big as before, but ours. Really ours. I don't need big. I just need you. They sat in comfortable silence, hands intertwined. I visited Charlotte's grave, Julian said quietly. Told her I was sorry, that I'd finally forgiven myself, that I hoped she'd forgive me too. What did Sarah say? She was there. We talked for hours. She said Charlotte would want me to be happy, that holding on to guilt wouldn't honor her memory. He squeezed Emma's hand. Sarah gave me her blessing. Said you're exactly who Charlotte would have chosen for me. Tears slipped down Emma's cheeks. I'm glad. Me too. They finished their pizza and went inside. The studio was tiny, barely room for a bed and easel. But it was filled with love, and that made it more luxurious than any penthouse. 3 months later, they married in a small ceremony. Lily was Emma's maid of honor. Richard Thornton gave her away. Even Sarah Winters attended, smiling through tears. Julian rebuilt his company, but differently this time. Smaller, more focused, with ethics at its core. Emma's art career flourished. They bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, filled it with her paintings and his piano. On their first anniversary, Julian found Emma in her studio, paintbrush in hand. What are you working on? He asked. She turned the canvas. It showed 2 figures made of light, intertwined and whole. Us, she said. Finally unbroken. Julian wrapped his arms around her, resting his chin on her shoulder. You know what the best part is? What? This isn't pretend. This is real. Forever real. Emma leaned back into his embrace, feeling his heartbeat against her spine. She'd walked into Julian Ashford's life as a desperate woman selling her heart for money. She'd walked out broken and alone, but she'd returned as herself, strong and whole. And he'd returned to her the same way. Some love stories were built on lies that became truth. Some were built on truth that became lies. Theirs was built on broken pieces that refused to stay, shattered, and that made all the difference. The end.